So I am from Phalaborwa. It's a small little town on the border of the Kruger National Park, pretty much in the middle of the park. If you were to look at the park top to bottom, a couple of towns close by, Hoedspruit, that some people might know of a little bit better. And it's not the biggest town. There's one school, one high school that you grow up in, and so it's the kind of town where everybody kind of knows everybody and everything about everybody. But the great thing about the place was the fact that I was able to grow up in a place close to nature. So grew up pretty much my whole life there. Directly after school, I started guiding. I didn't go to university or any of such training or schooling, but in South Africa we have an association called Photographic. So I immediately started working through the Photographic systems and qualifications, which is it's a great system that qualifies and enables guides to work at camps, and it's a great about a 3 to 4 year program that you need to finish. So that's what I did pretty much after school, just worked my way through that and worked at quite a few camps. Interestingly, I worked for about 3 years as a guide, but in the same time, I worked in the Lowveld, that Phalaborwa Kruger region for a little while, and then I went up to the Eastern Cape. My brother stayed there, so I just wanted a bit of a change and moved up to a place called Jeffreys Bay, which is a complete shift from Phalaborwa and working in the bush to Jeffreys Bay. My second big love is music, so I really love music. I'm a bit of a musician. I play drums as well. Still currently play drums, and I moved to Jeffreys Bay, got to know a few guys there in a band, started playing for a band, which is something you wouldn't associate with me or somebody in this industry, I guess. Whilst playing for the band, I worked also in the industry a little bit in Addo Elephant National Park. I worked for a couple of camps there, but my love at that time, I think I was 21 years old, was music, the band life, the touring. And in the end, we actually moved to the States. We moved to the US and continued playing there. So we stayed there for a whole year. And then I came back and pursued guiding again full-time, and what brought me to where I am now. So my passion for what I do and my love for nature, without a doubt, came from, well, two things. Growing up in Phalaborwa, if you've ever been or know of the area, I mean, we have baboons rummaging through the dustbins. We have impala and warthog walking through the streets. I would never cycle around the outskirts of town as soon as it got dark, because there could be a lion or a leopard. People lost their pets to leopards, and it was uncommon to hear them at night, to hear lions roaring at night. Every now and again, elephants broke through the fences of the Kruger, and they would come into town, and they'd need to be chased out. So definitely, growing up in that town, you're exposed to nature, whether you want it or not. But without a doubt, the second reason for that is my dad. My dad had a crazy love for nature, for wildlife, and in particular for photography. So I grew up traveling through the park. My dad had a company on the side that did safaris, employed a team of guides, and they would travel into Kruger National Park. I mean, I'm talking about the late 80s and the early 90s, and they would do these tours and trips into the park, and even to private reserves. I think at that time it was camps like Mala, Motswari, Thorny Bush, Honey Guide, camps that were established quite a long time ago. So that's it. I spent a lot of time in the field with my dad. I often spent time behind the camera, even from a very young age, and without a doubt, that's where a lot of my love for nature and passion for being involved in nature stems from. I don't think there was ever a definite moment where I realized that what I'm doing now is what I want to do, for the rest of my life. I think it stems from a combination of just being exposed to it and that love. I mean, I think for somebody whose dad is in the corporate industry or a CEO of a big company, if he, as a kid, plays around in his dad's office and sees what his dad does, certainly there'll be maybe a part of that would rub off on him, or maybe that's why he would pursue a career in corporate or as a doctor or whatever the case is. But I think from my side, it's definitely that influence of being exposed to it so often and just growing an intense love. And I remember as a young kid, I think even in primary school or early high school, just infatuated with the first documentaries put out by Derek and Beverly Hubert. I still clearly remember that. I mean, I could narrate Jeremy Irons word for word on those documentaries, and I think it kept evolving to where I am today. You know, as a youngster in high school, primary school, and growing up in that environment, did I think I would be a safari guide or traveling or a photographer or influencer, whatever it is? I mean, this is before social media even existed. So I think it's something that kept evolving, but certainly back then I knew I wanted to be involved in nature, whether it be, I think back then I still thought about like living in the bush full time, you know, like only that, and never seeing society ever, or civil, any city or whatever the case is ever again. But that's changed a bit. So definitely, I think a combination of a few things that I've mentioned growing up, and certainly just led me to where I am today.
Thanks for watching this episode of the series. If you liked what you saw, please hit the subscribe button to see what's coming up next in the interview.